proud sponsors of This Morning.
Well, we've made some entrances in our time. This has got to be one of the most special, I would have thought.
This is ridiculous when you think of the people that have driven in vehicles and pulled up to this grand entrance.
Across the red, crunching gravel into the grand entrance of Buckingham Palace. The original Buckingham House, because the front balcony part wasn't built until much later. And
presidents and prime ministers, I think.
All got out of their cars, not necessarily cabs. But let me open the door for you.
Thank you very much, thank you. And here we are. I feel like we should curtsy. Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of This Morning, live from Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, to celebrate the Queen's historic Platinum Jubilee for the next hour, we are joining you from inside Her Majesty's magnificent London home.
We did it. We just walked through the front entrance. It's incredible. We're going to be exploring some of the palace's incredible staterooms, as well as the gardens and the kitchens.
Do you want to have a look that way? Have a look over there.
There's the beautiful fireplace.
Round, Ollie, gonna have a look at that. And then on the other side, the most beautiful grand staircase. We're walking up that a little bit later on and showing you what's at the top of us.
Do you think that's where Cinderella's shoe fell down?
Well, yours nearly fell off earlier on, so quite possibly. Hundreds of famous faces have walked through those doors, including, as we said, politicians, sports stars, musicians, writers, actors, presidents.
It is also here that the Queen welcomes visitors on the first day of state visit. To our left is the amazing staircase. This is what Phil was explaining to you earlier. We're going to be going up there a little bit later when we take a look inside the picture gallery, where some of the most famous artists in the world have their paintings framed upon those walls.
Walking up now to the marble hallway. Lots of white and red and gold in the colour scheme, which was introduced by King Edward VII in 1901.
He also brought these incredible sculptures to the palace, which you can see over here, after they were commissioned by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert.
Continuing now into the music is fantastic, into the Bow Room, which was originally intended to be a library before being redecorated in 1853.
Well, the royal family uses this room on special occasions, such as the 100th birthday of the Queen Mother in 2000.
It leads beautifully to the palace's immaculate lawn, where the Queen famously hosts her annual garden parties.
Are you ready for this view? Are you ready? This is a bit special.
There we go.
Normally, you see these garden parties on telly, and these sort of lawns are filled with people hustling and bustling, all having a wonderful time, hoping to glimpse the Queen or a member of the royal family. And today we have it to ourselves, just us and This Morning.
Which is mad. They're mowing the lawns at Buckingham Palace. And you don't very often. I suppose the seagulls get a last bit here to have a look at the remains of the cucumber sandwiches from the last garden party.
That's so true. Oh, so lovely.
It is, for a central London garden, it is extraordinary how peaceful it is. And anyone who gets the chance to have a look around, it really is quite a tranquil place.
Yeah, it's very special. We've been all morning.
Yeah, can't wait to... Let's look everywhere. Can't wait to show you around. But before we head back inside, here's a look at what we've got planned for today. It's home to beehives, mulberry trees and a 3.5-acre lake. David Dominy will be taking us on a tour of these beautiful Buckingham Palace gardens.
As the Queen's annual garden parties get underway, Phil is offering a helping hand in the kitchen as he joins head chef Chris Tumbling.
She's given us 70 years of majestic style. Gok Wan will be looking back at some of the Queen's crowning fashion moments. Morning, Gok.
Morning.
Good morning. I can't believe that I'm in the picture gallery with one of Her Majesty Queen's outfits right next to us. We're going to be talking about all of her style over the years. What a privilege. I'm pinching myself right now.
It is such a privilege. That's exactly what it is. He brought Eurovision glory back to the UK. As he prepares to perform at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee concert, we'll be speaking to Sam Ryder about his meteoric rise to fame.
So, David Dominy will be exploring the Buckingham Palace garden at 10:15.
Phil Vickery's taking us inside the Royal Kitchens at 10:25.
Gox looking back at the Queen's iconic fashion choices at 11:45.
And we'll be speaking to Sam Ryder just before 11.
But before all of that, we are delighted to be joining you and this really very rare privilege to be broadcasting live from Buckingham Palace. What a truly exceptional year for the Queen.
Well, in February, Her Majesty became Britain's longest reigning monarch and the first in history to celebrate a Platinum Jubilee.
Well, in just a moment, we'll be reflecting on the extraordinary milestone with Giles Brandreth.
But first, we're taking a look back at the Queen's 70 years on the throne and the remarkable role that she's played in history.
It was on June the 2nd, 1953, 1 year after her accession to the throne, that the nation came together to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. It was the beginning of service to her country that has lasted more than 70 years, making her the longest reigning monarch in the nation's history.
And it was fitting that this would be the first coronation to be broadcast on television, as Her Majesty was at the start of a journey that would keep her very much in the public eye through the highs and lows of 7 decades on the throne.
Come fly with me, let's
It was a grand beginning to a great tour.
The Queen's reign commenced with her longest ever tour of the Commonwealth nations, as the royal family spent over 6 months visiting countries across the globe.
For goodness sake!
The 60s would see mankind take... Whilst in Britain, everything got smaller, with miniskirts becoming all the rage. And in scenes that predated Beatlemania, crowds surged to glimpse US President JFK's arrival at Buckingham Palace in 1961.
Congratulations!
Already mother to Charles and Anne before her coronation, the 60s saw Her Majesty welcome 2 more sons, Andrew and Edward, not to mention 1 World Cup, as the Queen joined in England's celebration of its historic victory.
The 70s saw Britain go decimal, the election of the first female Prime Minister and the arrival of colour TV, on which in November 1973 the nation watched, along with 500 million worldwide.
The bride and groom.
Princess Anne married Captain Mark Phillips. Her Majesty once again travelled extensively and met with President Gerald Ford. Just a year later, in 1977, more dancing followed, this time on the streets of Britain.
My thanks go also to the many who have sent me messages of congratulations on my Silver Jubilee.
In the 80s, telephones went mobile, well, sort of, and July the 29th, 1981 was a nice day for a white wedding.
Together after God's ordinance.
As 750 million people watched Charles and Diana tie the knot.
The celebrations continued. In 1982...
Good evening. It's a boy.
With the birth of Her Majesty's 3rd grandchild, Prince William, and his brother, Prince Harry.
I was christened in this.
Followed 2 years later. In official duties, the Queen became the first monarch to visit China and once again did a little bit of dancing, this time more informally.
Sadly, there wasn't much to dance about in the 90s, with the fire at Windsor Castle and, of course, the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales.
She was the people's princess.
We can only imagine that Her Majesty was pleased to say goodbye to that decade and welcome in the new millennium.
At the end of the 90s, royal celebrations might have seemed a shade uneasy, but the House of Windsor had weathered the storm.
The new millennium marked a string of happy royal occasions, starting with the Queen Mother's 100th birthday. Prince Charles's marriage to Camilla Parker Bowles in 2005 followed by a second fairy tale wedding.
Oh, wow, indeed.
When Catherine Middleton married her very own Prince Charming.
The Golden Jubilee followed in 2012 and saw the Queen visit 70 cities in Great Britain.
A year later, William and Kate's first son, Prince George, was born.
There was a little help with the royal wave.
And was followed by brother and sister, Charlotte and Louis.
On a gloriously sunny day in 2018, the UK monarchy met Hollywood royalty for the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, followed by the birth of their children, Archie and Lilibet.
Who does he take after? Does he look like anyone?
We're still trying to figure that out.
For 70 years, the Queen has served the nation with a quiet dignity.
So now, as the nation prepares to mark her many achievements, where better for this morning to join in the celebrations than here at Buckingham Palace? Happy Jubilee, Your Majesty. First British monarch to reach 70 years on the throne in history, and it shows how progressive Her Majesty is. The fact that we're actually allowed to broadcast in here now. We're with Giles in the Bow Room. Good morning.
Good morning.
Isn't it exciting?
It's
Actually,
actually
the 70th anniversary, unique in our history, and here we are in Buckingham Palace, in the Bow Room.
So explain the Bow Room.
The Bow Room, well, it's called the Bow Room because of the bow window.